start at the very beginning. Because let's face it, it's a pretty good place to start. And the start of one of the world's most loved, most watched, most sung along to movies of all time is here in Salzburg, Austria. I'm talking about The Sound of Music, which turns 50 this year. And to celebrate, the city of Salzburg threw a giant birthday party, complete with some very special guests. Let's go and join in the celebrations.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
Tonight, secrets will be revealed and favourite moments reenacted as Julie Andrews and the movie's Von Trapp kids reminisce.
So I had a big crush on Tan Truitt and this one too.
When these child actors arrived in Austria 50 years ago, they had no idea they were soon to become the most famous children in the world. And they certainly had no idea that 50 years on, they'd be back.
Being in this city the first time changed our lives, essentially.
I remember when we came back here, and I hadn't been since we had done the movie. And so I went for a walk by myself through Mirabel, and there were certain things, certain vistas, you know, a tree that I'd forgotten about. You know, I go, oh, I remember that. And it sort of transported me back to that 14-year-old child.
The movie's Von Trapp children have returned to the Schloss Leopoldskron, which served as the backyard of their house.
And what would be the scene we most remember from right here?
Right out there.
Right out there.
Right out there.
And what was it?
With all the leeches.
In the rowboat. The boat was on a wire, which is a little movie secret.
Okay.
Until it hit the mark where it rocked and flipped. And of course, as we all know, no matter how many times it had happened correctly, where Julie fell forward to catch little Kim Carath, who couldn't swim. On the actual take they used, Julie lost her footing. She flipped over the back of the boat. None of us realized that Kimmy had gone to the bottom, right out there. And all of a sudden, everybody went, where's Gretel? Where's Gretel?
And the shore empties.
That's right.
And everybody's into the water.
I didn't get her. Somebody from the crew jumped
Someone
in.
from the crew got her.
Jumped in and got her.
But anybody watching the movie now, that is the take they used. You will see Julie go over the back, because it looks wonderful that she flips out, but it was a complete mistake.
Oh, Captain, you're home!
And you're wearing your curtains, aren't you?
We were wearing our curtains.
Yes, we were.
And then we all come out of the water, of course. And Christopher and the Baroness are there, and we all lined up here in our line.
Flopping up, sliding out of our sandals because they were so wet they expanded and they come right off the feet as we walked up the steps and onto the path.
Did you love those curtain clothes?
Oh, I
I did.
Mine.
Nikki hated it.
I didn't like mine particularly.
No. I love mine.
Yeah. They're a little on the girly side. Let's be frank here.
All right, go inside. Dry off, clean up, change your clothes, report back here. Immediately.
But I went walking about in my costume because of the lederhosen and the whole bit, and you know, you just pretty much blended in with a neighborhood. You know,
We could never find Duane.
as long as I kept my mouth shut, they just didn't know me from some other kid
As long as you didn't
walking the streets.
pop the American
That
accent
didn't really
out.
come out too right, did it? Walking the streets. No.
We know what you
walking
mean.
around.
In the non-prostitute sense
Yes,
of the word.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, the word prostitute didn't come up much in The Sound of Music.
I'm thinking
Strangely.
probably it didn't. Probably to this day it still
Sure, I
doesn't.
didn't know what it was.
Probably I'm
Exactly.
the first to do that.
Yeah. Someone pointed out to me, you know, that nothing to do with prostitutes, but someone was saying this to me just the other day, and it is kind of funny when you think about it, that Peggy Wood, who played the Mother Abbess, whenever anybody knocks on her door, she says Ave. Now, it's the only word in Latin she ever uses in the entire film. So it's like, why does she use Latin just when someone knocks on the door and never again?
I thought you were going to talk about something else.
Oh, no. I wouldn't go anywhere near that.
I can't believe he's bringing that up.
No, are you kidding?
No.
No.
Of course
In
not.
fact, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Don't know. No one would know of which I speak. So, a lot of fun time spent here.
Huge.
I think this is just a nice
Absolutely.
place for nice memories.
Yeah, great memories.
Well, I think we should go off and find some more places where you had some nice
think
memories.
so.
What do you
Good,
say
let's.
to the Mirabel Garden?
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
go.
Bit
Well,
of
that's the
do, re,
best.
mi.
Let's go.
Absolutely.
Let's
That's
go.
right.
Who's going to lead the way? Friedrich?
After you.
Let's go.
To the Mirabel.
To the Mirabel.
Back in 1964, when The Sound of Music was being filmed, there was a lot riding on its success. 20th Century Fox was in big trouble, having nearly gone broke making Cleopatra. So the studio chief sold part of the backlot to fund this big budget musical they hoped would save the company. Casting would prove crucial, not just for the roles of Maria and the captain, but also for the children.
The figures I've heard are anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 children that they looked at in London, New York, Hollywood, and other places. I was the only one that was cast from New York, and I was the first one cast in the film. The last one cast was for the role of Liesl, and they auditioned every well-known young starlet in Hollywood that you could think of. Mia Farrow auditioned, I think Natalie Wood auditioned. They all auditioned for Liesl, and then he picked a complete unknown, Charmian Carr, at the last moment, and of course she was kind of perfect. I turned 14, and right on the other side of the river there is a little camera store that I see. I walked by it yesterday, it's still there. And for my 14th birthday, my mother bought me a little 8mm movie camera. And little did we know that all these years later, those movies that we took would be the only movies in existence of behind the scenes of the making of The Sound of Music.
Many of those home movies were taken while the children were filming Do Re Mi all over Salzburg, including at the beautiful Mirabel Gardens.
You remember the line in the film? The Von Trapp children don't play, they march. So we're gonna march right now. 5, 6, 7, 8, and do, a deer, a female deer.
But some of the most memorable scenes were shot in the Austrian Alps, an hour or so's bus ride out of town.
Do, a deer, a female deer, Ray, a drop of golden sun.
Well, this is the most amazing place to revisit. Tell me what went on in this paddock.
Well,
Go ahead, Nick.
it was right here, wasn't it? It was right here below that farmhouse. We sat here on the ground with a picnic blanket. Duane and I throwing a soccer ball in the air so that Mr. Wise could see that beautiful mountain in the background.
You had a reason to pan up.
To open the shot. And then he came down, and Julie sat down, and she picked up that guitar, and she strummed the first few notes of Do Re Mi. And that was history.
Can she play the guitar?
She could. She learned how to play Do Re Mi.
She learned for the film.
And we sat, and this was the meadow, and this is exactly where it was filmed, right here.
Right on this spot.
Right on this very
Were
spot.
there as many cowpats on the spot as there are now?
Yes, there were probably
Had to be
more.
careful of that back
And
then,
in fact,
And they make great frisbees.
Let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start.
From a technical viewpoint, I've always wondered the answer to this question. How did they record your singing? So, because you do all look like you're singing live during the film.
We recorded all of the music in a studio, in a booth at 20th Century Fox before we started to film, and then took the music home with us to practice so that we could sing with the same intensity and the same energy. But we flat out sang during the film. However, they used what was on the track.
And this was the moment when we were on the blanket where each one of us was given our own note.
Who had, okay, what were your notes?
La.
Ray.
Fa.
So.
They do stay with you forever.
Yes, you're never getting rid of that.
A needle pulling through. Drop of golden sun.
A deer, a female deer, Ray, a drop of golden sun.
And I remember Angela was me, and she worked in a little piece of business where, as she would say me, she threw her apple core.
Yeah.
And I thought, pulling focus, but you know, you've got to admire that. You've got to admire it.
I'm going to watch out for that now.
Sing with jam and bread, that will bring us back to do.
And then, you know, we did the big run at the end when we get up off the blanket, and we ran over that way, and we all run, and then that's the first time we jump into place in exactly the same lineup that our father used to have us line up in.
So we'll do that bit now?
No.
Tea, a drink with jam and bread that will bring us back to do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, so do.
But wait, there are even more secrets.
I leave and heave a sigh and say goodbye, goodbye.
Can you still hit that note?
No, and
Ben, and he can't now.
I just had to say that.
Is that a secret reveal?
well, that one high note was not mine.
No, surely not.
That was Charmian's younger sister.
It was a girl. It was a girl, he said.
I heard a whisper that Julie Andrews used to sing Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious to you guys to sort of keep you entertained. And the movie Mary Poppins hadn't even come out. So what did you think that song was?
We thought she'd invented it. We just thought she was a genius, and she'd made up this extraordinary song.
And she used to sing it
And
backwards.
she used to sing a lot of the stuff from Poppins, but particularly that one. Not only is she kind of the most perfect human being on the face of the planet, but she's also a genius who can just make up songs off the top of her head. So, you know, it all helped with that look of rapt adoration that you see on every child's face all the way through the movie.
And was Christopher Plummer doing similar things?
He stayed very quiet around us and kind of distant, and he was more stoic in character, and I think that was by design to keep us kind of on edge, because that's what we were supposed to be obedient to our father.
You know, it's interesting, though, because I think one of the most memorable pictures for me is of Chris and me sitting in our director's chair, sharing a laugh over some joke that he told. And it shows a very soft side to him that people think didn't exist, which is really rather untrue.
Many of you were in your teens, not so much you, Debbie. Hormones racing, you know, did anyone have crushes on anyone else?
Oh, yes. I had a big crush on Dan Truitt, and this one, too. Dan Truitt, who played Rolf. He taught me how to play, he taught me how to play chess. Yes.
Really?
Yes, he did. And that was
Taught you some moves.
No, he didn't teach me any moves.
Part of the reason The Sound of Music is such a resounding success is that it's based on a true story. Georg von Trapp really was a widower with 7 children who married the children's governess, Maria, who had been training to become a nun. And they all could sing.
I like to say that the real story is at the same time less dramatic, but perhaps more interesting.
But one person who knows the real story is Johannes von Trapp.
My father was Georg von Trapp, and my mother was Maria von Trapp. And I'm the youngest of 10 children, not 7. There are only 7 in the film, but so that's where I fit in.
Tell me a little about how the movie differs from real life.
The biggest difference is that there are 11 years missing. My father and mother were married in 1927, not in 38. They returned from their honeymoon, and Hitler has invaded Austria. There were actually 11 happy years there, 2 daughters, and my mother was pregnant with me when we left Austria.
And did you leave over the mountain?
We didn't. We spent lots of time hiking in the mountains, but when we left, we got on the train and crossed into Italy. Now, the border was closed the next day, so we left just in time.
Of course, had they really climbed that mountain, they would have crossed into Germany.
As opposed to in the movie where, you know, in the movie they get a telegram and he's got to make the decision then and there. I actually think the real story is actually more interesting, which is, as was told to me by Maria, the daughter Maria, is that, you know, the Von Trapps were doing well, and they were developing a big following in Austria as a singing group, and Hitler felt they represented the absolute best in German culture. And one day they did get a telegram, but the telegram didn't say, you have to report to the naval station. The telegram said, we want you to come and sing at Hitler's birthday. They were invited to be the entertainment. And Maria von Trapp basically said to Georg, this is the moment where the decision has to be made. Because if we sing at that birthday, that's it. We're in the tent with the Nazis. But if we refuse to sing at the birthday, we are persona non grata. So we've got to get out now.
After they escaped, their beautiful home, this is the real one as opposed to the castles used in the movie, was taken over by Heinrich Himmler, the head of the Gestapo. The home, once full of laughter and music, instead became accommodation for the highest-ranking Nazis, including Hitler himself. For cast members Duane Chase and Debbie Turner, who played Kurt and Marta, visiting the Villa von Trapp for the first time was an eye-opener. So Duane and Debbie, this is a picture of the actual von Trapp family. So can you tell me which is the character you played? Who's who?
Debbie, go ahead.
Well, I believe this is Johanna, and Johanna would have been in the place of Marta. So from what I understand, she was an artist, and I'm an artist.
And that was Werner, and he is my character as Kurt.
Maria wrote a book about her family's incredible story, which was then used as a basis for the Broadway musical, which then became the movie. She's in it for a second, isn't she?
You're right. Not many people know that, but my mother, my sister Rosemary, and my niece Barbara walk across the street in the background in a street scene in the Getreidegasse, I think it was, in Salzburg, down in the old city.
When Captain von Trapp married Maria, they had a lavish wedding at Nonnberg Abbey, where Maria had been a postulant. But when it came time to film that key scene for the lavish Hollywood movie, producers instead decided to come up to the Lake District to Mondsee, where they'd found the beautiful St. Michael's Basilica. And they instead shot the wedding here. And you can see why. I imagine the nuns weren't really singing How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria while she walked down the aisle.
I suspect the nuns were quite relieved to see her go.
Really?
How you solve a problem like Maria.
The day Maria met Julie Andrews, she told her she was thrilled she was playing her as a tomboy because she said that's what she was.
How was I?
You were absolutely wonderful. But...
She got a slightly harsher critique 9 years later when Maria was a guest on her TV show, The Julie Andrews Hour.
You know, Julie, there is yodeling and yodeling.
I was only yodeling, right? I see. Is there anything we can do about that?
Would you be interested if I show you a tiny little, genuine little Austrian yodeler?
Yes, I mean, even after the fact, it's better to learn how to yodel properly, right?
The two of us.
All right,
Yeah?
teach me. I should sing that, right?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Tria yodeli yodelio, tria yodeli yodelio.
And for Dame Julie's on-screen stepchildren-to-be, she was an inspiration.
Everybody should be so lucky as to have a Julie Andrews as a role model in their life when they're starting out, if they want to be in this profession, because she's the greatest role model you could possibly have.
Dame Julie Andrews has just been in Australia, casting for a production of My Fair Lady that she'll direct at the Sydney Opera House next year. So I've just been in Salzburg with four of the Von Trapp children.
Oh, my lovely kids.
With Debbie and Duane and Nicholas Hammond, of course, who played Friedrich, and Louisa. I had the Menzies who played Louisa, and they were back for a gala, which was in the festival hall.
Oh, my Lord.
They sang Edelweiss on stage.
They actually did?
They did. Wow. And their memories of you are extraordinary. That you to hear.
I hope in the right way.
Beautifully.
Yes.
You know, that they all said that their benchmark was learning from you, to have you as a mentor and someone to learn how to be in the business
That's
from.
lovely of them. Yeah, we still are, in a way, sort of family.
You went back to Salzburg yourself for the 50th anniversary. Well, what was it like for you to go back?
I've been back a few times, to be honest with you, and it's a joy. It's such a beautiful city. It's an immaculately clean city, and I mean, for God's sake, that incredible mountain, as you know, with the abbey on top of it, and
do the memories come flooding back for you? The children were telling me that you used to sing songs from Mary Poppins to them. They thought you'd made them up because it hadn't come out yet.
Come out
They thought you made up supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
That's right, yeah, and one or two old vaudeville Cockney songs. Like, we would have a good time. There was a lot of sitting around in Sound of Music on the mountaintops because the weather in Salzburg was not generous. It has like Europe's 7th highest annual rainfall or something like that. So there was a lot of sitting under tarpaulins and waiting for just a glimmer of sunshine.